All of you have probably read many stories about mystical and supernatural cases, which are nothing more than the fiction of the author. But today I bring to your attention something completely different. Absolutely real story, in which there is no fiction. I will tell you about a real mystical incident, which I happened to witness. It happened on September 16, 2010, when, after returning from summer vacation, I decided to check my old apartment, in which no one had lived for 8 years. The house in which it is located was built during the Soviet Union, like most of the buildings in our city. The courtyard was a jumble of houses of the same type, surrounded by perennial trees blocking the path of the sun's rays. Therefore, even on the hottest day, there was coolness in the yard. The house was located in such a way that some of the windows looked into the courtyard, and some, onto the road passing next to it. Over the past years, the road has already fallen into disrepair, so there is practically no traffic on it. Across the road is a small military unit that used to house military truck garages. Soon after the collapse of the USSR, the unit was closed, and its property was subsequently sold for almost nothing. Now in its place is a small market and several convenience stores. That day, as usual, I walked towards my house along a small road surrounded by old chestnuts. It was already about 7 in the evening, and the farewell rays of the setting sun struggled through their dense branches. Autumn came early that year, bringing cold and rainy weather with it. As usual, I went up to the 4th floor and, having fiddled with the keys a little, crossed the threshold of my apartment. The empty room greeted me with a cold silence, in which a dense, almost tangible silence reigned, which even the sounds of my own footsteps could not break. There was complete silence in the house. Even from the neighboring apartments no sounds were heard, which was somewhat unusual, given the almost complete absence of noise insulation. Having glanced around all the premises, I made sure that the apartment was still in perfect order, and was about to leave when something strange happened. It is worth explaining here that practically opposite the front door there is a room where there used to be a bedroom. I converted it into my office when I was still living there. The only window in this room does not face the street, but onto the balcony that runs along the living room and my office. The door leading to the balcony opens and closes only from the inside. It is not possible to open it from the outside. In the hall where I was at that moment there was a small mirror in which part of the study and the balcony were reflected. I had already opened the first door and started to open the second when I noticed in the mirror a dim shadow that slipped past the window overlooking the balcony. At that moment, I did not attach any importance to this, mistaking it for the light of car headlights reflected on the walls. This happened every time a car passed by the house, and continued to open the door. Then I heard the sound of a balcony door opening, which could not have happened, since the door can only be opened from the living room, and not while on the balcony. Moreover, a few minutes before that I had checked the lock myself and made sure that the door was locked. But oddly enough, even realizing the impossibility of what was happening, I continued to stand still, tensely listening to all the sounds in the living room. I heard heavy footsteps, as if someone was walking in the direction from the balcony door to the hall. At that very second, I turned off the light in the hall and rushed out into the stairwell, slamming the door behind me, and with the usual movement turned the key in the lock twice. The same footsteps were heard outside the door, and then the doorknob dropped and went up twice. Then the one on the other side jerked the doorknob sharply towards himself. Then again I heard his footsteps, this time moving away from the door. Having mentally praised the castle, thanks to which I managed to avoid meeting the inhabitant of the empty apartment, I locked the second door and in a hurry left the house, fearing that this creature would still be able to find a way out, and our next meeting might not end so well. For me, anyway. 2 weeks later, plucking up courage, I nevertheless came to that apartment again and did not find anything unusual there. Everything was in its place, the balcony door was locked with a key. In short, nothing indicated that there was anyone else. Exactly 3 years have passed since that day. Nothing of the kind happened in that apartment again. And yet I cannot find an explanation for what happened to this day. Now I plan to study the history of the house to find out what used to be in its place. And maybe someday I'll find out what happened that evening. Subscribe to the channel not to miss new stories.